The screen is almost black, with a faint blur of golden light in the corner. A slow, soft piano note plays. You feel the air thick with quiet anticipation. A hand drops a crumpled letter onto an empty table. The camera lingers on it for a heartbeat. The words appear on screen in simple white text. Some love stays, even when it's gone. A soft, distant sound of a heartbeat begins to echo, barely noticeable, pulling you into the story before you even see the characters. The video opens with the blurred outlines of a city at dawn, the streets empty, the mist curling around the streetlights. The camera slowly pans across the quiet cityscape, capturing fleeting moments of life that hint at stories untold. A faint piano melody continues, joined by the whisper of wind, as if nature itself is sighing. In a small, sunlit apartment, a pair of hands trace the edge of a photograph. It's slightly worn, corners curled, showing a smiling couple on a beach. The camera focuses on the hands, lingering on the subtle tremble, the quiet hesitation of someone lost in memory. Outside, a lone bicycle leans against a lamppost, its basket empty. Rain begins to fall softly, blurring the city lights, turning them into golden streaks that dance across the wet asphalt. The sound of the rain is gentle but insistent, like a heartbeat or a clock ticking. The text on screen reads, "Every love begins with a moment." The piano swells slightly, layered with soft strings, creating a feeling of both warmth and fragility. The next shot moves to a street cafe, empty chairs rocking slightly in the wind, a forgotten scarf fluttering on the ground. A coffee cup tilts, almost tipping over, and the camera freezes the motion for a split second, making the ordinary feel heavy with meaning. A whispering voice comes in, tender and emotional. "We give our hearts, not knowing what tomorrow brings." The words hang in the air as the camera drifts through the empty streets, catching glimpses of ordinary life frozen in solitude. An abandoned umbrella, a stray newspaper flipping in the breeze, a flickering neon sign. Then, the visuals shift to intimate, human details. A hand reaches for another hand that isn't there. A door closes slowly on an empty apartment, the echo filling the space. The camera focuses on a pair of shoes left side by side, hinting at someone who once was. The soft music continues, now mingled with the faint sound of distant laughter, like a memory haunting the empty spaces. Text appears briefly. Some stories begin with a smile and end with silence. The first section concludes with the camera panning up to the sky where the dawn is breaking fully. Golden light spills across rooftops, glinting off wet streets. The heartbeat sound rises slightly, blending with the piano, giving a sense of both hope and lingering sadness. The voiceover returns, soft but steady. "Some love is meant to stay, even when we lose it." The music swells gently, leaving the audience suspended between longing and curiosity, perfectly setting up the emotional journey that will follow in the next section. The camera drifts gently through a quiet neighborhood at sunrise. Windows reflect soft golden light, and curtains flutter slightly in the morning breeze. On a narrow street, a bicycle leans against a brick wall, its tires wet from last night's rain. The sound of distant footsteps and faint city hums begins to emerge, blending with the lingering piano from the opening section. In the foreground, a single flower bends under a drop of water, fragile yet steadfast. The voiceover begins softly, warm and reflective. "We give our hearts, not knowing what tomorrow brings." Cut to small glimpses of everyday life, capturing moments of love and connection. A hand reaches across a cafe table to touch another hand, fingers brushing lightly but meaningfully. A child spins in a park, golden sunlight catching their hair as laughter echoes faintly in the distance. The camera focuses on details rather than faces. The curve of a smile, the swing of a scarf in the wind, the gentle grip of two hands entwined. Text appears briefly on screen. A story of love, hope, and heartbreak. The visuals shift to fleeting moments of separation, subtle but striking. A pair of shoes left by a doorway, a coffee cup tipped over on a cafe table, and a coat hanging on a chair, waiting for someone who never comes. Outside, shadows stretch long across empty streets, and the sound of wind through trees creates an almost hollow, echoing feeling. The piano is joined by soft strings, creating tension under the calm. The voiceover returns, tinged with sadness. Some moments stay with us, even when the people we love are gone. The camera moves through blurred city lights at dusk, catching reflective puddles and passing cars that streak light across wet asphalt. Each shot lingers just long enough to suggest intimacy and memory. A lone umbrella drifts down a narrow alley, spinning in the rain before settling at the edge of a puddle. Text flickers briefly. Love is in the little things, the moments we almost forget. The music swells slightly, gentle but building, leaving a sense of anticipation. A soft whispering sound, a memory, a voice long gone, echoes faintly in the background. The camera pauses on a hand reaching toward a window, sunlight spilling across fingers but never quite touching. This section closes with a soft but steady heartbeat blending with the music, a visual of a flickering street lamp in a quiet alley, and the voiceover, almost a whisper. Every heart has its story, and every story has its pain. The screen fades slightly, leaving the audience suspended in quiet reflection, curious about the journey ahead. The scene opens with rain falling harder now, drumming softly on rooftops and puddles. The city is shadowed and quiet, lights reflecting in the wet streets like broken memories. The camera moves slowly through an empty alley, catching glimpses of torn paper fluttering in the wind, a single shoe abandoned at the corner, and a street sign dripping with rain. The soft piano from before is replaced by low strings and distant echoing percussion, subtle, like the first quickening of a heartbeat. A whispering voice cuts through, fragile but tense. Sometimes holding on hurts more than letting go. Quick cuts begin, blurred, fleeting moments of loss. A hand reaches for a door that closes too fast, leaving only shadow. A photograph slips from a table and lands face down on the floor, pages rustling in the wind. The camera lingers on small, intimate details, a glass with a lipstick stain left half full, an empty chair rocking slightly as if someone had just left, a single scarf caught on a fence post, flapping in the storm. Each frame feels heavy, like every ordinary object is charged with memory and emotion. Text flickers across the screen. When love fades, what remains? The visuals grow darker, more intense. Streetlights flicker against rain-soaked pavements. A lone figure is seen from behind, standing at the edge of a bridge, their reflection merging with the water below. Letters are shown, crumpled and torn, tossed into puddles, the ink bleeding in the rain. The sound of distant thunder mixes with the rising strings, creating tension that grips the viewer. The voiceover grows stronger, edged with emotion. We think we can hold on, but some things slip through our fingers. The camera shifts to fleeting flashes of intimate yet haunting moments, hands almost touching but missing, shadows of two figures passing in opposite directions, a soft whisper of laughter that fades instantly into silence. The music swells, combining soft piano and haunting strings, rising to a gentle crescendo. A close-up of a flickering candle in a dark room casts dancing shadows, symbolizing fragile hope. Text appears again, bold but fleeting. Loss isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet moments that break us. The section ends on a note of suspense. The camera pans up from the empty street to a cloudy sky, lightning splitting the horizon briefly. Rain falls harder, drenching everything in silver and gray. The heartbeat sound returns, louder now, blending with the orchestral tension. The voiceover whispers, almost breaking, "And in the shadows of what we loved, we find ourselves alone." The screen goes black for a beat, letting the silence settle, leaving the audience with a sense of anticipation and unease, ready to move into the emotional peak of the next section. The screen opens with the soft glow of golden sunlight breaking through gray clouds, casting long, warm rays over a quiet, empty street. Rain drizzles softly, sparkling in the light, reflecting memories of moments long past. A pair of hands reaches toward each other, silhouetted against the sunlight, almost touching but separated by a slight distance. Time, fate, or circumstance keeping them apart. The music swells with tender strings, piano notes delicate yet insistent, as if pulling at the heart itself. A whispering voice comes in, raw with feeling. And in the end, love leaves its mark. Forever. The visuals shift quickly, capturing symbolic, emotional snapshots. A single chair sits empty in a sunlit room, sunlight streaming through the window and illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. A photograph lies on a table, a finger brushing over it slowly, hesitantly, before it is picked up and pressed to the chest. Outside, a lone figure stands beneath a tree, the wind tugging gently at their coat, leaves falling like golden tears. Each shot lingers just long enough to create a feeling of quiet heartbreak, a delicate balance of hope and sorrow. Text appears softly on screen. To love is to risk losing everything. The tension grows as fleeting, cinematic images flash across the screen. Footsteps in empty hallways, a door slowly closing behind someone, sunlight catching the edge of a scarf left fluttering on a fence post. The music crescendos, combining piano, strings, and a soft choir-like tone, creating a rich, emotional layer. The voiceover returns, deeper now, tender yet heavy with emotion. And sometimes, the hardest part of love is letting it go. The camera focuses on intimate, faceless details, a hand trailing along a wall, the curve of a smile frozen in memory, a single tear rolling down a cheek, reflected in a rainy window. As the section nears its peak, the visuals grow more cinematic and symbolic. A puddle reflects a sky streaked with sunset colors, merging past and present. Two shadows meet briefly in a sunbeam, then drift apart, never truly connecting. A flickering candle lights a dark room, symbolizing fragile hope. The text flickers on screen again. Some moments stay, even when everything changes. The heartbeat sound rises subtly alongside the music, blending into a steady, poignant rhythm. The voiceover whispers, almost breaking. And in the quiet spaces, love lingers. The section ends on a soft, lingering note. The camera pans upward, catching the last rays of sunlight against dark clouds, rain still falling gently. Music softens to a delicate piano line with subtle strings, leaving the audience suspended between heartbreak and hope. The screen holds on the glowing light for a beat, as if inviting the viewer to feel the weight of love, loss, and everything in between. Then, the screen fades slightly, leaving a pause before the climactic hook and title reveal.